towards bridging the gap between Iraq and the U.S. by facilitating dialogue between Iraqi leaders and our U.S. Congress people. Let's give a warm welcome to Raed Jarrar.
Thank you very much for coming today. The only way to stop the violence in Iraq, the only way, is to give Iraq back to the Iraqis. The only way to stop the violence is to pull out all of the US troops without leaving any permanent bases in Iraq. The war in Iraq is between foreign invaders and Iraqis. It's not a religious war, it's not a sectarian war, it's a war between Iraqis and non-Iraqis who came as a part of an illegal occupation. This occupation divided Iraqis politically. It divided Iraqis into people who are for the occupation, who are a very small group, and people who are against the occupation. As a half Sunni and half Shia Iraqi, I realize that there are so many Sunnis and Shia for the war, and there are so many Sunnis and Shia against the war. In fact, I realize that there are so many Sunnis and Shia and Kurds and Christians and Turkmen who are for their country, and they are for liberating their country from the foreign invaders. And there are other Sunnis and Shia and Kurds and Christians and Turkmen who decided to work with the invaders, collaborate with the occupiers to kill their own people. And this is the real fight in Iraq. The fight is a political fight happening because of the occupation, not despite it. What is happening even inside the Iraqi government, inside the Iraqi parliament, which is an Iraqi parliament that was elected under the occupation, is a fight between Iraqi separatists who are Sunnis and Shia and Kurds, and Iraqi nationalists who are Sunnis and Shia and Kurds. The separatists are supported by the Bush administration. They want to keep the US troops there. They want to privatize Iraq's oil. They want to split Iraq into 3 states. While the nationalists, who represent, surprisingly, even this corrupt and illegitimate parliament that was elected under the occupation, it's not represented by the separatists. The nationalists want to keep their country united. They want to keep their oil nationalized, and they want to have the US troops leaving their country as soon as possible. So this myth, the myth of having these puppet Iraqi leaders coming to the US and saying, these are the Sunnis and Shia and Kurds who want us to stay there. These people don't represent anyone. They don't even represent their own parliament. They don't represent anyone. They are US employees who don't represent anyone. The real Iraqis out there, the real Iraqis who exist, are waiting out there with a peace plan. There are Iraqis who have a peace plan. There are Iraqis who can rebuild their country. There are Iraqis who were ruling their country for the last 7,000 years. They don't need someone to come 10,000 miles away to tell them how to treat their neighbors. Iraqis know how to deal with their country. They are the only people who have the right and the capability in dealing with their country. And they are the only ones who will end this violence. So no surges, no more troops, nothing. Nothing can end the war unless Iraq is given back to the real Iraqis who are dying every day trying to get their country back. Iraq is just a symptom of a bigger problem, a disaster called the US foreign policy. As an Arab who is half Iraqi and half Palestinian, I can tell you that I have been living the consequences and results of this destructive policy for the last 3 generations. My grandparents were kicked out of their home in Palestine as a part of this policy. They were destroyed as a part of this policy. My Iraqi brothers and sisters and uncles were destroyed and put under sanctions for decades because of this policy. So when we fight to end the war in Iraq, we should realize that ending the war in Iraq is a part of a bigger picture, the picture of changing the US foreign policy. The US foreign policy has turned the world in the last decade into a less safe and more violent world. It depends on interventions and on violence. It destroys all of the internal domestic movements for change. It destroys all people like myself who were living in Iraq, who wanted to have a change from within. It just harms the movements of democracy and change. Iraqis know how to deal with their problems without foreign intervention. And Iranians know how to deal with their problems. And Lebanese, and in Somalia, and in Afghanistan. People don't need someone to go and liberate them. They know how to liberate themselves. Iraq had 8 revolutions, 8 political revolutions in the last 80 years. How many revolutions did the US have? Iraqis know how to change their political dictators by themselves without destroying their country. And this is what we are living now. We are living the results of foreign intervention. This is exactly what will be happening in Iran if the US invaded Iran. There is nothing as a foreign change of regime. The change of regime must happen from within. The democracy must start from within. There are millions of people around the world who will stop this week and remember the anniversary of the war. There are millions of people who we don't know. We can't speak their languages. We don't even know where they exist. But we all have one agenda. We are all working for peace and justice. And we all believe that we want to change the current world. We want to change the current US foreign policy and British foreign policy and other invaders' foreign policies from policies that are based on violence and intimidation to a policy that is based on international law. We want to start creating relationships between different nations around the world based on mutual interest and the international law instead of building relationships built on military power and intimidation. Let's stand, all of us, all the millions of the anti-war people, the millions of the peace and justice people. Let's shout today that we will not be silent. We will not be silent against our dictators. We will shout against our local dictators and tell them, end the war now, bring the troops home now. Thank you very much.